Hey friends, today we're going to learn how to integrate Google Analytics with SvelteKit, so let's get to it. So let's set up Google Analytics first, and if you already know how Google Analytics work and if you have your measurement ID, go to the post and check out the code for SvelteKit and you're done in 2 minutes maybe. But yeah, for the rest of you who are curious and who never set it up, let me go over the process, how I figured these things out in the first place, because you always look up for these things in tutorials, but you really don't think about or learn how to read documentation. So the first thing I did was do a search for the Google Analytics documentation, and that led me to this page. And from here, it's really logical, so you can set up Google Analytics, go to website and web apps. And this is where things get a bit confusing. $1 billion company, by the way. So we can go to get started, and then you can go to get started with Google Analytics. So you think one of these options is for you, even the web app, but no, you have to go to set up analytics for a website or app, which leads you to a totally different page. And here is going to give you some instructions with pretty pictures, which I also included in the post. So let me close that. And another thing is we need to think about what we want. So the first step is to get Google Analytics working, and that's fine. So the next one is what we really want to do. So we want to measure the views. And then if we look at this page, we can see how to, here are a couple of things. So we can go read, measure views, right? So we can go to this, and this is going to help you figure out how to set up measuring page views. And this is really a nice way so you can learn how to read documentation, so you can be self-sufficient, so you don't need to constantly look every single thing up, right? So this is really a thing you have to practice. Maybe you waste a couple of minutes, or if you can't figure it out, then just look it up, right? So assuming you have a Google account, the next step would be to go to your Google Analytics, so analyticsgoogle.com, and you might be prompted to create an account here. And the steps are going to be the same, but if you aren't, you can go to the admin. I already have an example account here, and I'm just going to use some dummy data because I don't really have a real site to show you this on. So you can go create account, and then let's give it a name example, and you can turn these things off depending on you. Yeah, we can go next, give it another name. This is just your currency for Google Analytics and etc. Google Analytics is free, so you don't have to worry about paying for everything. So yeah, this is optional, so you can just say create, sign your soul to Google. We've read this entire thing, right? Yep. Yeah, and then let's create it. So here is the data streams you have to add. So data streams is something new, I think, to Google Analytics 4. And if you get lost, always remember that these options are going to be in your properties column right here, which you're going to do because you need a degree to navigate this user interface, to be honest. So yeah, we can go to the data streams, and here you can pick web, and this is going to create a data stream. So I can just give it the name of my site. This is an example, and then let's give it an example. So here it shows you what it tracks, so page views, scrolls, etc. But you can configure this, and yeah, let's just create the stream. And now you're going to be in the web stream details pane. But remember, if you get lost, whatever, click on data streams. Here it is. Just click on it, and you're going to get to the same page. Trust me, this is confusing. Yeah, so this is the only important thing, and don't worry, this isn't private. This is exposed to the client anyhow, so this is the only thing you're going to need. And when you get your measurement ID, you also can read about how to add it to your page under the tagging instructions. So you can add a script to your site like this, which you're going to do in a minute. But yeah, let's do that in SvelteKit. So in SvelteKit here, I'm using a regular project, so nothing special. And let me just go here in the post. We're going to create a nice component so we can include it in our layout. So it's included for every page of our site, right? So inside the source folder, let's create a lib folder, and then we're going to create Analytics Svelte. So lib Analytics Svelte. And then we can also install the types for the GTag manager. So if you go to your terminal to install types, when the library isn't type, you have to install external typings. Yeah, so I'm using pnpm, but npm works the same. So we can say install development dependencies, types, GTag.js. Yeah, so you can just install that, and it's going to be awesome having type completions, so you're not in the dark, right? Yeah, and then I can close the terminal for now. So let's add the analytics. So we can say import. We're going to need the page from the Svelte store. So let's see, app stores. And then we're going to use this reactive block, which is going to run this code inside every time page URL href changes, right? And this is if you're unfamiliar with how Svelte works. And these curly boys are also optional. You can just type this, or you can even use a ternary if you want. But yeah, I think this is more readable. So G-tag is located on window G-tag, so we need to make sure this isn't undefined because SvelteKit executes your code in the server and client context, so you might get into weird issues. So we can say if type of G-tag isn't undefined, and then we're going to change the config for G-tag. And then you can just include your measurement ID. So you can go here, you can copy it over, you can store it in an environment variable, up to you, right? Yeah, so we can do this. And then for the third argument, you're going to pass some options. And thanks to TypeScript, you can press Control spacebar and you're going to have some auto completion. You're going to see we have page title. So we get this from the document title. And I think Google Analytics does this already, but let's just make sure, right? It won't hurt. Yeah, so for the page path, we need to say from the store, that's why we use the $sign, page URL, graph. And every time this changes, it's going to rerun this block. So yeah, that's it for that. We just need to include the script in our head. So we can, for example, go to app.html. We can include it here if you want, but I want to keep things neat and tidy in one place. So if I scroll here, we can see this is from the documentation. So we can say svelte head. And then we can just copy over this entire thing. Yeah. So if you remember, here it is. And that's how we can read the documentation and get to these conclusions, right? Yeah, so we can include this. This is going to auto format. So another interesting thing is the function G-tag. So remember, this is on the window, but you might be thinking it accepts arguments, but how is this possible? So this is really an awesome short JavaScript lesson we can go into, if I remember how to do it, right? So for example, let's say we have a function G-tag and it returns, I don't know, just an empty string. It's not important. So you can say console dir, so we can get the properties because functions are just objects in JavaScript. Yeah, so we can say G-tag and we get back the object. So you can see on the object there are arguments, which are none, the color and the length. So let's see, if we go here, we can say G-tag and we can say argument and it should return argument, right? Actually, it's not going to return because we're already returning this, but yeah, you get the point, right? If we go here, for example, let me just function G-tag. If we say console log arguments, remember? And we can do this, G-tag, we can say argument, and this should log it out, right? And that's how that works. So yeah, that was a brief tangent, but very interesting, right? So yeah, let's close this and then let's continue. So we can add this to our layout because we want this to be included for every page in our application. So if I go here, here's how simple it is. So we can go to routes and then create _layout.svelte. Let me close the sidebar. Yeah, let's say the script tag. And let's use auto magic imports so we don't struggle. So you can just say analytics, when you press enter, TypeScript is going to know where to import it from. Yeah, and also don't forget your slot so it displays on the page. Then we can save this. Yeah, so let me start the development server so you can see what's going on. And if I go to localhost 3000, here it is. So if I open the developer tools, let me just, so you can see it. So pay attention, we're in the head. And here is our script that we included in SvelteKit. So another thing I want to mention to you, if you go to console, you're going to see fail to load resource error blocked by client. And this is because if you're using an ad blocker or a browser like Brave that has this shield here, your Google Analytics script is unfortunately going to get blocked and there's nothing you can do about it. But yeah, now you can get your data. You might have to wait half an hour. So you can go to your analytics, just close this. And if you go to reports, you can see real-time data among other things. If you go here, give it a second. And yeah, that's it. So that's how easy it was to set up Google Analytics with SvelteKit. Hope you learned something and catch you in the next one.